Hey, welcome to the 175, a channel dedicated to clear thinking, food for thought, and common sense. Today's topic is Mr. Trump's impeachment. Now, just to get started, just so you know, out of the 16 Republicans that were running for president in 2015-16, I had Mr. Trump ranked number 15. He wasn't even close to my top because I'm still not convinced that he's truly a conservative. I, being conservative in nature, wanted somebody more like Ben Carson. Even Jeb Bush would have worked, even though he's more of a moderate. Ted Cruz being the smartest of the panel. It just seemed like Trump didn't work out. That said, I've been pleasantly surprised since he has taken office that almost every decision that he's made, significantly things like conservative judgeships and going after Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and engaging in many common sense laws, including the XL pipeline, Keystone thing, and some of the coal things that he's done in West Virginia. It just seems to make sense to me, and all common sense. The border wall makes sense. Almost everything he says and does makes sense, and is certainly his two Supreme Court nominations were fine. That said, it seems like the Democratic Party has become more, afflicted with Trump derangement syndrome is what they call it. That is that Mr. Trump is inside their mind. He has, in some form or fashion, gotten under their skin to the point where all they're really interested in is removing him, blocking him, hurting him, even to the point of what I would call a coup in regards to this impeachment baloney. Now, the question about impeachment always comes down to, is it a high crime and a misdemeanor? That is it of such seriousness that you would go through this process to overturn a duly elected president? It has to be pretty stinking strong, either in the arena of treason or some sort of moral failure, that you would, in fact, take that president out. Now, a lot of people don't understand the process here, but it's very simple. Articles of impeachment are voted on by the House of Representatives. They are presented sort of like a prosecutor would, with charges against said party, in this case the president, and they go over to the Senate, where they have a trial where the senators are then the jury. Generally speaking, a House representative of some sort, whether it's an attorney, a staff person, and or representatives, become the prosecutor, and the president can, in fact, inflict some sort of defensive posture with a person. It's just like a trial. And then ultimately the jury votes, and one way or the other happens. In this particular case, it looks to me like the House of Representatives, because it's democratically controlled, they are going to vote for impeachment no matter what the facts are. And it seems to me that the Senate will not have reason to convict, and it'll be, well, pretty much a party line, and the Republicans who control it will, in fact, beat it back. It seems to me, as we look at these kind of things, that the things that he's being accused of, according to the transcripts, he in fact did. He did kind of talk to the Ukrainian president and say, hey, would you mind taking a look at this mess in 2016? Because it seems like some of your people were involved in some corruption. And then, of course, the corruption through the oil field and natural gas company that was Ukrainian-based seemed to have corruption as well, which was ran by, or at least certainly influenced by, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son. It seems to me like it's apropos to say, hey, can you look into this? Because somebody was fired because Joe Biden himself bragged about him getting that prosecutor removed from the Ukrainian government. Otherwise, Joe Biden, wouldn't allow, in fact, he was in charge of the foreign aid, would not allow $1 billion to go forward until they did, in fact, fire him. The problem was that particular prosecutor was looking into this natural gas and oil outfit that Hunter Biden, Joe's son, was a board member on and very much a part of it. In fact, Hunter Biden was paid, catch this, $50,000 a month to be on that board. $50K. Now, is Hunter Biden some sort of energy expert or some sort of, I don't know, natural gas geologist or something? The answer is no. He's never even touched it. Never had any experience whatsoever. So why is he on that board? And why would you pay somebody $50,000? It's because Joe Biden was vice president and held on to said $1 billion. And he got the prosecutor fired that was looking into it all. Corrupt or not, the bottom line is Joe Biden did exactly what the Democrats are, in fact, accusing Mr. Trump about. That is a quid pro quo. That is, for this will happen. So it seems to me like this isn't a high misdemeanor. It seems like a normal New York thing to do that Mr. Trump would engage in. That is, what in the world is going on over there when you can't even take care of that? Ukraine did get, in fact, their money. It was delayed just like Armenia was and Lebanon was because of different corruption issues. And it all worked out just fine very quickly. So what in the world is going on with the Trump derangement syndrome of the Democrats? The only answer is they hate Mr. Trump. Now, I'm not a fan of him by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a fan of his policies on the main, but I don't really care for the person. He's crass, he's crude, he's brash. Very typical of a New Yorker, by the way. If you've never met some of the New Yorkers, they just are pretty crass in their way of approaching business, life, etc. So none of this is unusual, and it certainly isn't impeachable. One could argue that the 10 to 12 different scandals that Mr. Obama's administration was involved in, anywhere from the selling guns to Mexico and their cartels, to the whole concept of the IRS tagging conservative organizations and doing audits, all of that seems impeachable, much more so than a phone call to a Ukrainian president who, by the way, said in particular that he felt no, in fact, I think he said it 3 different times, 3 different interviews, he felt no pressure whatsoever about that because it's something that's on everybody's radar anyway. So there you have it. That's my thought. For better or for worse, food for thought, and hopefully you'll subscribe to the station, the channel, and we'll see you next time as we take on another controversial topic here on the 175.